Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. Hope you're staying warm for those living in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. It is February 4th, 2022. Our agenda this morning, we'll start out with success stories. We'll then have everybody put their 30-second introductions into the chat box. We'll then go to our committee reports, hear about workshop, job fairs, pit crew, interview success workshop. We'll share the career tip of the week. And then we will have our main event, which happens to be open forum today. So we'll talk about whatever it is you'd like to talk about. If you have any questions throughout the presentation and to network and to put your contact information in, please use the Zoom chat window. For those watching on Facebook right now, please just enter your information or questions into the comment field. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window and your personal information will not appear in the recording. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2007, I took over facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. The group's been around since the late 1990s. As I said, I took it over in 2007 when the prior leader landed a job and asked who wanted to take over. In 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org to help those who are unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I launched a second website, careerusa.org, to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search that you may not know. It is available on Amazon. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team, and you'll hear more about that in just a couple of moments. Well, we like to start the meeting off with good news. I know of one person who landed. Let's see here. Is Scott on the call with us today? Yep, Scott's there. Scott, you want to unmute your mic and tell us your good news?
Hi, good morning. You guys can see and hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Good, good. First time using my cell phone to do this. Yeah, I never thought I would see myself on a slide here after 20 months after my layoff from COVID. It's been a wacky 20 months, but I guess it was my turn. A recruiter reached out to me on January 17th. A few days later, we had a video screening. A few days later, met with the VP of sales, and the following day I had an offer, just like the way it's supposed to work. I will be a remote channel sales account manager with Spectrio, a company I had never heard of prior to being contacted by them. They are a private equity backed. They're into digital marketing. They acquire like 20 companies a year, and they're the largest digital marketing firm in the country. So pretty excited about that. And I have onboarding and training beginning on the 14th, and it has never been so much fun this go round, doing the volumes of new hire paperwork that was required. Loved every single minute of it.
So, I mean, this position seemed to land very quickly. Tell me about the last 20 months. What have you seen out there over the last, couple, period?
Well, it's been odd. This is the first time I've ever had to look for a job. I've been fortunate to always be recruited to the next better opportunity. It took probably 3-4 months to figure out the 2021 way of job search. Thankfully, I had some friends who were part of this group that let me know that your group, Jeff, was out there. And gosh, some Fridays it was the only thing that kept me going. I am 10 weeks shy of turning 60. I thought my working days might be over, especially when a number of recruiters confidentially told me that I was a top candidate or the top candidate, but they were concerned I wouldn't mesh with their DNA. And we all know what that means, but heck, I'm very excited to get back to work and stop my full-time job of seeking employment.
So if you could offer everybody else who's on the call, one or two tips on how to conduct a successful job search, what would you recommend?
Wow. Just all you can do is stick with it and not take it personally. There are a billion coaches out there and resume writers and LinkedIn profile fixers. I actually ditched my paid advice about 8-9 months ago and just went with my gut, and things seemed to change a little bit. I actually was contacted, I think in addition to the Spectrio HR person, 4 other unknown companies to me reached out about coming to work for them. So, maybe, just maybe, the tide is turning on wanting a 30-year-old who doesn't know so much and taking a chance on a seasoned veteran to join the team.
Okay, well, great. Well, congratulations. Thank you very much for, being with us this morning, sharing your call. I think it's always good to hear that, people are landing and that, maybe, hopefully it'll be a great fit for you and maybe it'll be the last job you ever had.
I certainly hope so, because this process can wear on you and make you feel dumb some days and make you feel old some days, but all you can do is put on a happy face and keep charging.
Well, Scott, congratulations. Thank you very, very much for sharing your story today. Congratulations.
Thank you, everyone. And you, Jeff, you're doing great work, and you don't know how much of a lifesaver you are to many of us out here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, well, I do have one more question. You said a recruiter found you via LinkedIn. So you said you hadn't heard of the company. Was your LinkedIn profile attracting people and you were generating phone calls from your LinkedIn profile, or was any of this through networking?
These last 4 or 5 things were out of the blue. I actually started using my LinkedIn profile as a teaser. I pulled a lot of information back, and it seemed to work. I don't have a tech sales background, but those were the sorts of companies that were reaching out to me.
All right. Well, Scott, thank you very much. Congratulations once again.
Thanks.
All right. Do we have any other landings, any other success stories that anybody would like to share?
I would.
Yes, go ahead, Chandra.
Yeah, so I landed at Associate and I don't start until February 7th, which is Monday. And it's for the customer service representative.
Congratulations. How did you find the job?
It was through the Associate website. It was something that it's been It's been on one of my target jobs.
So you just constantly sort of kept checking their website to see if they had openings.
Yes.
All right. How quick was the process from you first finding the job to getting the offer?
Well, I went to the hiring event, and I was originally assigned for data entry. It turned out to be in management, and you had to have management skills to even work in data entry management. So they recommend me customer service.
Okay. And so you said you found the job. If you would, please put your information into the chat box. That way I can make sure I can move you over to the alumni page. And I'll
Okay.
have all your, information of where you're moving to. So Chandra, congratulations. Thank you very much. Do
Thank
you have a
you.
bit of advice you'd like to share? One or two things you think job seekers need to know about their job search?
Persevere. That's all I gotta say.
Perseverance.
And don't give up. I've been rejected from many jobs, but keep persevering. And
Right.
I have another interview this afternoon from another position. So all I gotta say is persevere.
Okay, that's a great word. That could be the word for 2022, perseverance. Just
Right.
yeah, that's a great word. All right. Well, Chandra, thank you very, very much. Anybody else? Any other landings? Anybody else want to share anything?
I just want to say that we had a catastrophe Wednesday. Krispy Kreme ran out of donuts.
Oh, no. I know I drove by a Krispy Kreme on Monday night and they were closed. So I was heartbroken. I was going to pick up some practice donuts. So, yeah. All right, let's move on. If you will, please open up your chat box. In the chat box, put your name, comma, phone number, comma, email address, comma, position you're looking for, comma, 2 or 3 target companies, and then hit the return key. I will get all this information. I will put it out to everybody this afternoon in an email. Please look it over, see if there's somebody on the list that you can help. Try to help one person every day. If you have a contact at one of those companies that you can maybe, share a lead or share a contact, or, maybe you've interviewed with this company in the past and you can offer some comments, please reach out to each other, because that's what's really going to help. That's one of the things I really miss, that we can't do this in person. Hopefully we'll get back to that in the next couple of months, to be able to meet in person and be able to, share these leads and contacts with people. So if you will, please put your contact information in the chat box. Also, I use that information to mark you present on the roster. So you only get the roster, you only get the email if I know you were here, and I only know if you were here if you put your information in the chat box. So we will put 30 seconds on the clock. And for those people watching on Facebook, if you put your personal information in the comment field, I will go and delete that information right after the meeting, so it won't be hanging out on Facebook forever and ever. All right, it's time to hear about job career fairs, training workshops that are going on. Good morning, Eldon.
Good morning, Jeff, and happy icy Friday to everybody. It's good to be here. I haven't gone out in a couple of days and probably will stay in today, but it's not as good on the ice as I used to be. My job today is to provide you information with job and career fairs and special workshops or events. There's the calendar. This information comes from the calendar page from the website careerdfw.org, which is on your screen right now. The various different colors on there signify different topical areas that certain meetings may fall into. So you see there's a lot of variation, a lot of different things going on throughout the month and throughout the year. I urge you to check the calendar often to find out what's going on. I go through these items fairly quickly, so if you hear something that catches your ear, I would urge you to go to that item on the calendar, click on it, and usually you'll find more information, a link with more information, or a link to register, or all of the above. This week's career and job fairs. A hiring event for At Home will be held Tuesday, February 8th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at 1600 East Plano Parkway in Plano. And this is for entry-level warehouse workers. First and second shift hours are available. This is followed by the Dallas Career Fair live on Wednesday, February 9th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Crown Plaza Dallas Market Center, an IHG hotel located at 7050 North Stemmons Freeway in Dallas. There's a link on the calendar for more information about that event. And finally, the Dallas Veterans Job Fair by Recruit Military will be held Thursday, February 10th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at AT&T Stadium, which is located at 1 AT&T Way in Arlington. And there is a link on the calendar to find out more about that event. This week's special workshops and events online, LinkedIn Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Join Locke Alderson, Terry Sullivan, Ruth Lipsky, or Kurt Vondemutter each week for an online session on LinkedIn. This week's session on February 8th will feature Ruth Lipsky. There's a Zoom link to participate, as well as a Facebook link for that event. Also online, Who You Know Career Transition Summit will be held February 9th from 10 a.m. to noon. There is a registration link on the calendar for that event. It's hosted by Foster Williams, who's one of our local area recruiters. If you don't know Foster, I would urge you to get to know Foster Williams. Great guy. Also online, Interviewing Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Wednesday, February 9th from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. This is new for 2022. You can now observe a practice interview from the pit crew each Wednesday, and there is a Zoom link to participate in that. And if you haven't participated in the pit crew, it's really a very valuable experience. Many years ago, I went through several pit crew interviews and found that they were probably better than the real things. I would urge you to participate in that. Also online, the networking webinar Thursday, February 10th from 1 p.m. to 2:15 p.m. Join Career DFW and careerusa.org the second and fourth Thursdays from 1 to 2:15 p.m. Central for their networking seminar. I'll have a different speaker each session talking about networking. And there's a Zoom link and a Facebook link to participate in that event as well. And that's it for this week.
Eldon, thank you very, very much. If you know somebody who just recently got laid off, or somebody who's unemployed, doesn't know exactly what they should be doing, please tell them about Career DFW and careerusa.org, 2 free websites. We don't collect any personal information. The information, we're just trying to help people. And if you know somebody who just lost their job, there's a where you see that blue arrow, they can click, what do I do now? And they can click there for help and get a great one-page handout on what they should do to get their job search going. All right, it's time to hear about the practice interview team. Good morning, Mark.
Well, good morning, Jeff. And I just posted up into the chat window the best ways to contact me. The number one best way is via email at the pit crew email address, dallaspitcrew@gmail.com. So let me tell you a little bit about the pit crew. The pit crew, the crew part of the pit crew is a group of volunteers that I lead that have all been hiring managers and have all been through job transition. And many of them, like about 90% of them, are currently in job transition. And so they're volunteering their time to give practice interviews to help you be successful in your job search. And so how that works is you send in a job description and your resume. So we give a very personalized and customized interview experience based on that job description, and we'll study up in advance, and you'll show up on the day of your interview and you'll find a panel interview. We'll have 2 or 3 interviewers asking you questions. That'll take about 45 minutes, and then afterwards we'll spend 20, 25, sometimes 30 minutes discussing the interview that you just went through. So that's the most valuable part right there, is getting immediate feedback on your interview skills. And you can practice as many times as you like. As a matter of fact, we encourage people to practice often and practice early in their job search process, which means if you don't have a job in hand, if you haven't been contacted by a recruiter, just find a job description that looks good to you. Maybe, something you'd call your dream job description, and sign up and practice for that. And every time you practice, you're going to learn something new, and you're going to learn by doing. So really sticks, so to speak. I mean, a lot of people, don't practice, and they study, of course, and they come to the webinars and they come to the meetings, but knowing is not doing. It just doesn't happen until you're right, until you're faced with it. And so that's what the practice interview team gives you, is a chance to see what really is going to come out of your mouth when you're asked this question. Don't you think you're overqualified, or what are your salary requirements, or why did you leave your last job? So those are the kinds of things you'll be asked and get a chance to practice answering. The pit crew, before I go to that, Jeff, the pit crew has 4 time slots available during the week. So 2 on Tuesday evenings, 5 and 6:15. So if you know people who are employed, employed and looking for new work, or maybe they have conflicts during the day. And of course, they wouldn't be at this meeting either if they have conflicts during the day. So if you know people in that situation, go ahead and let them know that the pit crew has practice interviews available on Tuesday evenings. Also Wednesday afternoon at 1 o'clock and Thursday afternoon at 3 o'clock. So those are the 4 time slots. And all you have to do is sign up and send me an email. Please do that a couple of days in advance and let me know what your first and second choice is for time slots. And of course, all of this information that I just told you is available on careerdfw.org during the 1 o'clock Interview Wednesday webinar announcement. So if you don't remember it, that's where you can go to find out. The pit crew also offers one-way practice interviews. This hasn't been very popular, but we're still offering it. And this gives you a chance to practice using a one-way video interview tool. I make it as easy as possible because interacting with the tool is what I think is the most critical part of it. So I'll give you the questions in advance. There's only 4 questions, and you'll get a link, and then you'll interact with the tool. It'll only last like 12 minutes because the answers to each question is limited to 3 minutes. And then afterwards, you'll get a link with a link to the video so you can see how you did. So it's pretty straightforward. And Walt also has an offering, I think Jeff does too, that are a little more involved. But the pit crew one is just to get you familiar with the tool. And then there's my LinkedIn profile. If you please link in with me, and when you do, just send a note that said we met on the North Dallas Career Focus Group, and I'll be happy to add you to my network. That'll help you find contacts inside your target companies. And then finally, two more things. So I'm still looking for volunteers to join the practice interview team. So those are the volunteers that give the interviews. And the only requirement, as I mentioned, is that you've been a hiring manager in the past. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, and it's not a big time commitment. You volunteer to when you can, when you have an opening, and so that's how it works. I'll tell you some more if you reach out to me. And then finally, I do one other thing to help job seekers is I coach on this, how to answer this question: why did you leave your last job? So if that's going to cause you some concern about how you might answer that question, we'll spend some time working out how to answer that and any other questions that might be generated by your exit situation from your previous roles, or maybe there were some, a series of short-term jobs, especially back in the 2008 through 2015 timeframe when the economy was pretty weak all around. People had several different jobs that didn't last very long. So, we can explain that. So. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you. All right. Time to hear from Walt. Good morning, Walt.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's session. I want to say a word about Mark. A lot of us may have stereotypes about people in certain professions. And so we would never guess by the stereotype that Mark is an engineer. So we should not make those stereotype decisions. We should take people for what they are. So welcome to the example of what an engineer can be. Well, what do I do? Well, I like to help people with their interviewing skills too. And as I looked around after retiring as to seeing, what would be something that I could involve myself with, I remember back in 2000 when I flunked an interview miserably. I decided I better figure out how to do this and do it the right way. So I did a deep dive into interviewing and did a lot of research and put together some of my own thoughts and ideas from my experience too on the hiring side. as to what the interviewer's perspective is, which is a key differentiator, and came up with this workshop. And the difference between the pit crew and the workshop is that the pit crew is a great mock panel interview, something I heartily recommend. The workshop is not a mock interview. It's a learning interview. We put our learning hats on because we're not going to feel stress and anxiety and fear and see our life flash before our eyes. We're just going to try to improve ourselves. And so when I look at the idea of interviewing and how we can be successful in that interview, I said, well, what is it we're trying to do? And everybody says, well, we know that we're trying to sell ourselves. I said, okay, so what is that? Define ourselves. And I came up with who we are, what we do, and how we help. So it's an I am, I do, I help model. How do we sell those three aspects in an interview? And how do we differentiate ourselves from other interviewers? When you're on the hiring side and you interview people, you will hear a lot of the same things over and over and over again. A typical greeting. But what can we do to change that greeting so that it's different? It's a bit more positive. It sells a little bit of who we are, what we do, how we help. It sets the tone for that particular interview. It shows our genuine energy and enthusiasm, all in the first couple of sentences in that greeting. So we talk about those kind of things. We'll cover the 12 basic categories of questions. It's a little choppy. It's not a smooth interview. It's looking at these categories and saying, what are our strategies, our options? Are there structures? Are there typical things that we can try to look at and say in responding to those? What is that structure? So that when you know that it's a negative question, you know you need to pause. You know you need to pick something from a long time ago. You need to pick something that doesn't have a significant impact. And you got to be short on the negative and you got to turn it into a positive. So that's the structure and the idea about a negative question. Then we can practice those things. So that's a little bit about that. You have to be registered to attend. All you do is look me up on LinkedIn. My Yahoo address, you can see it there on the screen, is the address, the email address that I use just for the workshop. Just let me know that you would like to register for it. I'll send you availability dates. I generally hold them on Tuesdays from 9 until 11. It's be on Zoom. And you'll get that video of your interview. You're going to also get a handout with several files in it that are helpful. And you're going to get a video that goes along with explaining everything that's in the handout, something that you can use now and later, should our jobs disappear one more time, which it seems very likely these days. So all that stuff you get. And it's $2,000, but I'm giving 100% discount now. And if you sign up this week, today, you get another free workshop. You also get, I'll talk with Mark and I'll see if I can squeeze you in onto Mark's pit crew after you learn to do the differentiation. So I'd love for you to sign up. Come on down, let's have some fun and we can have some learning without squirming. If you want to get your dream position, you must set forth on a mission. It includes practicing the interview. It can get you out of the job search queue.
Thank you very much, Walt. All right, it's time to hear about the career tip of the week. And you can check out the career tip of the week on the Career DFW or Career USA website. There's a new tip that jumps up there every week. So Liz, thank you for reading it this week.
Well, good morning, Jeff, and good morning, everyone. The current tip of the week is learn to write accomplishment statements as success stories. This is by Joel Garfinkel. I'm a big believer in documenting your achievements, but I realize that it can be hard to talk about yourself and your successes in a positive but professional light. Just the idea of sitting down to write about and take credit for work makes many people uncomfortable. In my presentation, Career Advancement, Release Untapped Potential in Your Underutilized Leaders, I outlined the various ways you can coach hidden talent to truly shine and put their best foot forward when discussing their achievements. I often suggest you think about successes as miniature stories with a setup, a plot line, and an outcome. It can be a lot easier to talk about yourself with a bit of structure to your outline. If you need a place to start in breaking down your own accomplishments, read on for some tips. Step number 1. The overview. Write a brief overview of the problem you faced or project you managed. Think about it from a company perspective. What was the issue at the outset? What was the negative situation or state? Or the undesirable outcome that you are looking to improve. Whenever possible, explain the financial or time implications of the problem you're tackling. Mention when a certain aspect of the operation was unreasonably expensive, time-consuming, or a source of frequent errors in the organization. It's best to outline the problem in measurable terms. Set the stage for the actions you took by describing the issues in a way that will resonate with the audience. In this case, people invested in a smooth operation of the business. When they see the problem for themselves through your description, their minds will begin turning with the various ways they would have tackled it, and they'll be interested to hear how you came to approach the issue. Step number 2, the approach. List the key actions you took to address the problem or the specific approaches that were the scope of your project. Explain how you were thorough in taking on the problem or project, and be sure to take every opportunity to highlight your role in finding the solutions. This isn't about details, it's about using the situation to illustrate your strengths. Think about the various skills, experience, and talents you have that came into play in tackling the issue or project. Think about taking the reader or listener on a journey through the steps and get them invested in the story. Step number 3, the results. Detail the measurable results that underscore the financial impact your accomplishment had on the company. You set these up in your first step. Make sure you use the same terms of reference to show how you've improved the company's bottom line. And remember to use financial terms whenever possible, as this is how you really shine as an employee who brings value to the organization. Your example of your leadership and your success in completing the project or overcoming the project is exactly the sort of story that interests your audience most. It's a success story that involves them too. And this will really resonate with senior leadership who are always thinking of the company in hours, dollars, and cents. And as a bonus, it will likely be easier for you to outline your accomplishments using this unemotional method without feeling boastful. Still not sure about this method that will work for you? Try the above steps with your least exciting, most basic achievement. Chances are you will find that documenting the results in detail using simple financial terms will not only look surprisingly impressive, it will be easier to write after a few attempts, and after a few attempts, it will become less daunting. Adding a bit of emotional distance by writing this way can not only make the process easier, but create better, more compelling results. Documenting your accomplishments will be easy to add to your regular monthly or quarterly habits, and be sure to make it a regular task in your career advancement routine to keep your skills in documenting sharp. Well, good luck, everyone, and try and stay warm. He's on mute.
You're on mute, Jeff.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I went to cough and I unmuted myself. Thank you. Please turn on your camera so we can see you when we do open forum. We'll do that. We'll get started here in just a moment with open forum. I just want to talk about our upcoming sessions. We've got a couple of really good sessions for the month of February. Next week, Mike Coffey will be with us to talk all about background checks. When you get a new job, you're going to have to go through a background check. Mike runs a company out of Fort Worth that has been doing background checks for 20 plus years now. And he's going to tell you the good, bad, and the ugly all about them. On the 18th, PJ Dunn will be with us to talk about Clifton Strengths and Core Clarity. So if you haven't done Clifton Strength Finders, it may be something you want to do before the event so you know what your top five strengths are. And then on the 25th, Elizabeth Lyons will be back with us. She was our speaker last week. We talked about how to vet a company, and we were really interested, and I put that email out to everybody with sort of the comments that she made, great questions to ask a company. So we're going to do, she's going to do a whole presentation on just how to vet a company. So that should be a very interesting talk. She'll be with us the last Friday in February. Okay, so we're going to do open forum. We'll talk about whatever it is you'd like to talk about. let me unmute the mic or unmute the, turn off the PowerPoint presentation. So if you've got something you'd like to talk about or a question you've got, please unmute your mic and ask away.
I got a question. I was reached out through LinkedIn, not just a email, by a recruiter for a contract position. How do I know what's legitimate and what's not? I kind of assume the emails most often aren't, but how do I vet a LinkedIn? You know, I'd be interested in this contract position. I mean, I'll talk to the woman, but I just, how do I vet it? How do I know it's not, that it's legit, you know?
Someone you want to offer suggestions, comments?
If they ask for money, run away. Typically they won't ask for money. If they're asking for money, they're not legit. But I've had people contact me, and we go down the path as a normal interview process. So keep your ears open and eyes focused on anything that might be a red flag.
Any
Thank
other
you.
Comments?
And now, do not give a lot of personal information away. I know there's some people that have gotten scammed by giving social security number and other pertinent information very early, and that should come only after a job offer.
Okay.
Anybody else? Any other comments?
I have sometimes asked the question as to where the location is for the job to get some more feedback. And if it is legit, they would come back to you. At least it would say DFW area or wherever the location might be, because it's mostly a generalized email I have received in the past. And some would respond and some may not. That's what I have experienced.
And I
Thank
think
you.
last week,
I got one more.
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
On the recruiters, I get LinkedIn especially, I get these emails and they don't even say hi, Kevin, or anything. It's just like blank and then boom. So, they're phishing, and I don't know if it's a real matchup situation. They're just looking for fodder, and I just ignore those. If they don't know my name or can use it, that means they're just using some generalized program. And then I always ask for the salary range, and I ask for the name of the company. If they're not willing to give it, that's fine. But typically, I sense there's, and it's happened because I've confirmed this, that many of them are calling from another continent, and they have English skills, but they're trying to sell you into a company they may or may not have access, but if they feel they have a good enough candidate, someone will work with them. So there's some things I've noticed. So I typically stay away from them unless I think it's really solid.
Last week, Elizabeth mentioned 4 different things you can ask a recruiter when they call you up, and I put it in the chat window. Number 1, have you worked with this client before? Have you placed people there before? How long have you been working with this company? What do you know about them? I mean, she mentioned that she always researches who the person is. She looks them up on LinkedIn. She says if they haven't been doing their job for 10 years, she doesn't even deal with them. So she'll just say, thank you very much. I mean, that's just her rule. I think 10 years is a bit extreme because, quite frankly, a lot of people who are in that maybe have only been doing it for, 3 to 5 years, or, I would do a little bit shorter than a 10-year time period. But, those are just some questions that she asked, that she said, if the recruiter reaches out to you, you want to find out if they really are legit. If they really know what's going on. So how many puts, it's called in the business, it's how many puts have you had with the company?
Oh, okay. I didn't know that language. Thank you. Thank you.
To Kevin's point, I wanted to say when LinkedIn is not immune to it. Some time ago, I received a message on LinkedIn from this fellow who said he was a senior recruiter with Amazon, and the email that he gave had like @amazon.com, and so I believed it. but never, he wanted to know the open slots I had the following week to talk to me. Never got back. So I don't know what to make of that.
Just like to add, if you go to Jeff's Career USA YouTube channel and look at the interviewing section, session 1 deals with recruiters, and including
Okay.
in that, a lot of the questions that you heard from Elizabeth Lyons are in there on the questions you would ask to vet and or select a recruiter. So what do you ask them? And so there's several aspects, and those items that were mentioned that Jeff put in the chat window are, those are some of the same things that are in that session. So you might want to go look at the recruiting session 1 out on that interviewing Career
Okay.
USA.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions about that? All right, what else can we talk about?
I've submitted some resumes, and for a contact, I have 3 or 4 people that are referring me into their company, which is nice. It helps a lot, I think. But I've decided, through some multiple feedback, that I should do a functional resume because of, I haven't done much in the last couple of years in terms of work history. And so I'm actually looking at a rec now, and trying to do functional. I haven't ever done one. And Mark sent me a sample, which is great. And then I'm kind of doing a one-to-one, look at what they want and actually mention a specific thing in my resume. Because I had one company, huge company, I did those things. I did scheduling, I did program management. And it's in there, it's 2 or 3 companies. And I find out from someone else who reviewed my resume in the company that I didn't make it stick out, and they want stories. They want stories. They're not going to look for things in my resume. I felt like it's all there. Why is he saying I don't have enough of that or this? I work for a major thing, one of the biggest technical projects in the history of the United States. And, and I don't even get an interview. So it's on me that I have to really tell a story and make it stick out to the recruiter so they don't have to search in the resume. So on a functional resume, and I want feedback from Walt and Mark and Jeff and anyone else who's done functional resumes and has success, then I'll have 3 or 4 paragraphs, like leadership, business development, program management, and explain things that I've done. And then the bottom show some list of companies. Any thoughts?
My thought is every time I hear about functional resumes, 99% of recruiters and hiring managers don't like them because people can't see a progression. They can't see what you've done. This is just what I hear from recruiters. I would think a much more effective tool for you would be to use a 1-page bio that has those success stories on there and just mentions the company, because you're doing the same thing, but you're not giving them, you're not getting into the weeds. You're just telling them that, if this is what you're looking for, here's what I can do. And I think a 1-page bio would be much more effective. Like I said, most people don't like functional resumes, but I love to hear, has anybody else been able to use a functional resume and get a job?
Can I ask you, can you send me a sample of a 1-page bio, Jeff? You have
I'm
one?
going to do that right now. I'm going to put it in the chat box. Let's see here. I just put it in there. It's a Word document that you can go and modify.
Well, do
David,
you have any comments?
I have a question for you. When they say they want stories, do you have results in your resume?
Probably not so much. Yeah. It's not.
My suggestion is I don't think a resume is a place to tell a story, but it's absolutely the place to tell a result so that they will be interested in finding out and talking with you, and then you can tell the story. Plus, you and I have had this conversation, and I think the company wants a functional resume. Is that true?
Yeah, there's been at least 2 companies that asked me for a functional.
Right. And so whatever the company wants is the style we want to use. Right. So we should have, you probably should have a functional resume, because if it's not, they are going to throw you in the trash. So you may as well figure out how to do an effective functional resume. So I would put the results. You've gone through the workshop and you have a handout, and there's an example of a resume in that handout. And it talks about some things up front that shows results. And so while it's not a functional style resume, it might give you some tips on how you might state some things in your functional style resume.
That's in the interview feedback.
Well, it's in that folder that I give you a handout.
Okay.
That 11-page handout, and one of the pieces in there is an example of putting results in a resume.
Okay, thank you.
So it's helpful to always remember that resumes are not read, they're scanned. And so that's why you want your results to stick out. And you probably had an experience where a recruiter or a hiring manager saw a few things on your resume that was interesting, and they gave you a call, and then they started to discuss it and maybe realized that you didn't have exactly or even, close to what they were looking for. But don't be frustrated that they didn't read your resume. You hear, and it's true, they spend it just a few seconds. So let's be generous and say they spend 15 seconds looking at your resume. Well, they're just looking for keywords, certain phrases that, to decide if they're going to can you or keep you in the cut stack, so you made the first cut. Yeah. Now, they may come back later after they've narrowed it down to 10 and study those a little more deeply. But your initial, you're making the first cut involves having the right keywords and phrases.
Well, Mark, you're absolutely correct for what you're saying. And you're absolutely correct. However, my approach is a little different in that I am networking and I'm finding someone in the company. So in a sense, I'm bypassing this, whatever it's called, ATS system or whatever, and I send it in, and then I don't know if they'll send it directly to the recruiter or what. I think they do with a note or something, so that someone will know that someone within the company has talked to me, and so they'll look at the resume. So it's not like it's just being dumped out on keywords. So that's a little advantage you have if you start to network in and work with someone that can refer you. You bypass, or you really reduce the significance of the applicant tracking system, which is it's absolutely zero for me. I mean, that's rules me out of everything.
I had an experience yesterday. I agree with Mark. They just don't read them. I had an interview with the recruiter. She had my resume and she admitted, just send me another one. I didn't even look at it. I just pulled up your LinkedIn profile. And while my LinkedIn profile has aspects of my resume, it is not my resume. It is designed to be something completely different. So I just wouldn't assume that they've read it, that they have it. She said, oh, I could go pull it down, but why don't you just send it to me? So she hadn't even looked at it. So how I got on her radar to be out of the applicant tracking system and onto her desk, I don't know. Maybe I was the only applicant. So that's how my name got there. But she admitted that she hadn't looked at it, hadn't read it, and didn't pull up my LinkedIn profile until the conversation started. Now, I will caveat by saying it was a great conversation, and she was prepared and really good at it. But yeah, they don't look at it, no matter who hands it to them.
Well, and I think that's
my experience.
That's one of the things that whenever you get that phone call, that first phone call, you always want to ask, so what was it about my resume that made you pick up the phone and call me? Find out what it is, because obviously they reached out to you for some reason. There was some phrase, some word, something that made them pick up the phone and call you. What was it? And then you know what to talk about for the next 20 minutes. You know what to focus on.
So the other question I have, and I really appreciate all the feedback I'm getting. I hope my head doesn't swell too much from it. You know, they have a description of the job, and then they have basic qualifications, preferred qualifications. You can't talk about everything. And so, and obviously you have the preferred. It sounds like you're more of a base champion, you know, job looker. But anyone have any, you know, broad suggestions on that? What to hit them with?
I'm not sure what your question is.
Well, you have so much limited space to talk about yourself. You want to make it short and concise. So, you know, the basic qualifications, you definitely want to show them, say something about that you meet them, and hopefully preferred. And then they have a general kind of key responsibilities that may or may not lead to a result that I can talk about. So I was just wondering, where would you put the emphasis in my presentation to them? Does that make sense?
You're talking about the resume as a presentation?
Right.
Well, you definitely want to include, you know, you're right, include your preferred and the required, all right, that's how you meet what's required. And if you're looking for space concerns, pick the top 2 or 3 preferred that you think would put you over the top, the ones that, you know, fit you or something, and you can mention, or you don't have to go into all those details. There's other ways you can represent that. But at the same time, you take everything in a job description and put it on one line. If they got 3 different characteristics, that's 3 different lines. And then you figure out how you can talk about every single one of those items on in your, not necessarily in your resume, but in interview, but you want to certainly include those, a lot of them, not all of them, in your resume. So that you can, 1, identify everything that matches, looks good to you, looks good to them. Number 2 is maybe there's something that you don't have, and you need to identify requirements that you don't have specifically. So they want 100 years and you only have 50. How can you address that? You don't have to, because it'll show in your resume when you're looking at things. But if you can show the value you bring, the soft skills that you have, the activities that you do, and put in those items that are interesting to them, that's the key thing. And I love your approach. You don't send them in, you wait until you've got the connection and somebody wants to read it before you send it in. But there are 2 types of resumes. They have to be consistent. Your LinkedIn resume about section and your resume should be very consistent. They don't have to be identical. The one on LinkedIn can have a few more bullets on it, but the one that you got on paper, you know, 2, maybe 3 bullets max on each item is all you want, because I'm not going to, you know, not read all those things. But just prioritize what you think those things are, and then say that's how I would tailor it. I know Jeff talks about the master resume. Jeff, why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Well, if you're not familiar with a master resume, it's probably everything you've ever done since you graduated college. You include any internships on it. You put all the details, who your supervisor was, locations, all the dates. You put, you know, 10 or 15 bullet points for underneath each job of successes and results that you had while you worked at those companies. And then when you see a job description, you take that master resume, save it as, however your naming convention is to save stuff, and eliminate everything that's not in the job description. Everybody here has done a lot of really great things, and you've got some really good stories about things you've done. But if they don't ask for it in the job description, don't put it in your resume, because the whole point, listen, a resume isn't going to get you a job. Your LinkedIn profile isn't going to get you a job. All it does is get you a phone call. So you've got to be prepared once you get a phone call. What was it about my resume that was of interest? Or what was it about my bio that was of interest? Oh, okay. And now you know what to focus on in that, you know, in the phone call. And practice your interviewing skills. Reach out to Mark and schedule a pit crew interview, or 2 or 3 or 4. Listen, I remember once I remember doing this one interview with a lady. Her resume matched up to the job description. It was perfect. I mean, you looked at the 2 things and you went, this is, I want to hire this person even before I met her. After the interview, I did not want to hire her because she couldn't tell any stories. She couldn't, as good as her resume was, her interviewing skills were horrible. She lost it in the interview. She rehearsed, she practiced, she came back 4 or 5 weeks later and she did an outstanding job. So no matter how good one little part is, and you know, people focus so much time on their resume, I almost think it's more important to focus more time on your interviewing skills and being comfortable on explaining your stories. Having every bullet point has to have a story. You've got to be prepared to share a result on why I can help you, because this is what I did, this is the amount of money I saved at a prior company, this is the percentage increase in productivity, whatever it is, this is what I can do to help you solve your problems.
Well, I think if I need some more help with stories, I know who to call, Mr. Walt Glass, because that woman could have succeeded a lot earlier if she had contacted Walt.
Yeah, I tell Mark and Walt they need to offer their online services, little earbud to pop in, like you know, in the secret movies, and you know, so as they ask a question, they can be there to tell you exactly what they want to, you know, what you should say to answer the question.
Yeah, the lifeline call. I have to ask if the lifeline calls are permitted during this interview. And arrange for Jeff and Walt and Mark and whoever else out there that would help me. I think it's a great idea, Jeff. I'm going to look into that.
You know, I think that would sort of be funny during an interview. I mean, I don't know, what do you think, Mark? If during an interview you said, you know, you got a question, you went, can I make a lifeline call on that? I think that would sort of break the tension up in an interview.
Yeah, you could ask that at the beginning, you know, can I call a friend?
Well, you know, any job you have, you don't know all the answers. You have to be resourceful, and you have to have contacts and a network to go out and get the answer, the real answer. So I think it shows intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
They won't accept it. I mean, it's not the tradition, and that will not work. But I think it's an excellent thing. I might ask it. Just, I don't know. That might throw more.
Yeah.
A little humor in an interview always helps the conversation.
Yeah,
there you go. There you go. So you can say, you know, if you stop me with a question, can I call a friend?
Well, I might do it. Yeah, I'm thinking of taking an improv class this month, you know, and that might help there too.
It's fun to think about anyway.
All right, Geneva, I see you have your hand up. You have a question?
Hi. I don't have a question, and I apologize for no camera today, but I'm a hot mess right now, and it wouldn't be pretty. I've had a really rough week. It's I guess I need I need a little help right now. I'm very discouraged. This job search, I mean, it has just rocked my world. And we're talking about, you know, going through the pandemic and then losing my job in October, getting laid off. And I apologize that I'm emotional, but I just am. I mean, it's just been a rough week. I am so discouraged. I mean, I have redone my resume. I can't tell you how many times. I've redone my LinkedIn profile. I don't know how many times. I'm taking, Jeff, as you know, I'm taking a lot of Zoom classes through Career DFW. So I'm taking my interview classes and my resume classes and all my stuff. I did a pit crew interview. So thank you, Mark. And please don't ever show that video to anybody. It was painful to watch. I was like, they give you a recording of it. And so, you know, halfway through, I thought, I am so surprised the pit crew did not like go off camera, grab a glass of wine, come back. I mean, it was just, but I will say it helped me so much to watch this back and see myself. And also the pit crew, all of you guys were just so amazing with your feedback. You were so professional, but just everything that you said helped me so much. So I do want to thank you so much for that. So with all this being said, everything that has been offered through Career DFW is helping me, but I still don't have a job. And I'm like, I'm just really discouraged right now. I've had a lot of interviews lately, and they've gone well. I mean, one company that I interviewed with, I have probably been on about 4 interviews with 5 different people, and the feedback is like, you know, you're a great fit, da 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 da. But I was really discouraged last week because I really thought I was going to get this job. And it turns out that the job I was interviewing for, they filled it internally. And then, so then literally the very next day, after my interview with that position, the head recruiter called me back and she said, how about this position? I think this would be a good fit. And I said, okay, what do I need to do? So she had me do another online application. I jumped through all the hoops. She scheduled the interview for the very next day. I, you know, interviewed. It went really great. I was supposed to hear back by a certain day. I didn't hear back, so I followed up. I had to follow up a couple of times, and then she called me, the head recruiter, and on the call, she actually had another recruiter from the direct department that they were interviewing me for, and there was one like experience that I didn't have that they really wanted. And in my industry, I have to say, I've been in real estate for like 20 years. I've been in the REO, the foreclosure side, for like 14, 15 years. One piece of, you know, something you don't know is completely teachable, you know, and I tried to relay that because I'm like, look, I've worked for this top investor for this many years, you know, in that industry and in that position and environment, you have to be able to adapt quickly. And so, you know, I really tried to sell it, and I tried to sell it because I knew I could do it. And it was just, you know, that's what they want at this time. But it's just kind of been going like that. And I've been ghosted. I mean, you know, from another interview, I actually have sent thank you emails and follow-ups, you know, and nothing. And at both these companies, I actually have former colleagues that work there too. So it's like, it seems like all the things are supposed to be falling into place, and they're just not. I don't know. So any advice, any counsel? I don't know if I just need a mentor to kind of handhold me right now, because I just don't know what to do, and I'm kind of losing my zeal along the way. I'm sorry. I'm just.
Well, God bless you for speaking up. And, you know, anybody out there not feel like this? I mean, you know, all job seekers are going through this, and you have ups and downs and you have things. 2 tips for you. Number 1, get an accountability group. Get somebody that are in job seekers that are going through the same things that you are. You put a plan down for your activities for next week, what you've accomplished last week. You get encouragement, you get help, you get support from each other in doing that. We cannot measure success as a job offer. We measure success by the stepping stones that we are achieving along the route, along the path. So it's not a failure unless you get the offer. This job search is one of rejection, and learning how to accept that is not easy. It's difficult. But if you have a group, you said, okay, here's what I'm going to do next week. You have metrics. I'm going to make 2 calls. I want to do an informational interview. All right, that's my target. And then when you meet those targets, that is a success. You are doing the things you need to do. You can then celebrate that you are moving in the right direction, the right path, doing the right things each week, and get that support and encouragement. So 2 things that are really in there: the accountability group, which is really helping people go through it together. And the second thing is measure your activities as, when I'm doing these things, I'm doing the right thing. And as I achieve those, that's a success for me. And you can celebrate those.
Yeah, Walt brought up a good point in all of that, and that is we are all salesmen, and salesmen have to get comfortable with getting no's, but focusing on the fact that every no gets you closer to a yes. The The other thing I would say is I've seen people get discouraged, as you described. Find a bridge job, work at Home Depot or somewhere like that to take that edge off, but keep your search going. Or find a charity to go spend some time at. Do something besides job search to give yourself a sense of reward and accomplishment. And I think Walt hits the nail on the head. The process is what you have to focus on, not the getting a job as the only way to get success. You're going to be shocked at how much you can learn along the way that'll be useful to you, not only if you ever have to do another job search, but also in dealing with people and communication and all those things. So there's a lot of things you can focus on to give yourself some hope. I find personally that my faith, diving deeper into my faith, has been very helpful. So, it's not failure to go through what you're going through. It's finding pieces and ways to make contributions. And, I was in an accountability group with Walt, and he's right. The accountability group doesn't have to be 10 people. It can be 2 or 3. But you want to pick people who are serious about their job search, not going through the motions, and people that will give you an honest answer and tell you you didn't do this and you should do this. And they need to be people that aren't there to pat you on the back always, but you also need people that are going to spur you on to take that next step that might not be comfortable for you.
I add 2 points. I think Geneva, I think your name's Geneva. I would reframe what happened in those 2 interviews, because you're claiming, they were failure, you're a failure, you're feeling terrible, whatever. But you're in the right ballpark on both those jobs. One was an internal person beat you out, which we're always going to come against, and they're the biggest competitors. They may be less qualified, but they have the known quantity, and they're going to get a shot at it more than we will. And the other one, they had a hard requirement. Like you say, you could have learned that little requirement. That's how some people are. They're not flexible. So you did get to the final interviews, and some people aren't even getting interviews. So you're showing whatever you're doing the right thing to get in the ballpark. And then it's just a matter of you're probably that much closer to it because you're hitting in the right area. So I would say some people have applying for weeks and they haven't got one interview, and those are the people that have to really change up what they're doing. So I think you're in the right spot.
And I think you have to
Geneva, do you know what?
You need to consider it a success that you had the recruiter. They know that you didn't get job A, but here's another job. I mean, obviously they liked you enough. They thought you did a wonderful job, that you'd maybe be a good fit in the company, that they were willing to help you find another position in the company. So I have to think that you need to consider that a success. The other thing I would also add, just another point here is, one interview with the practice interview team doesn't make you an expert. So, I think that I would come back and do another practice interview with them again. And I would do maybe a 3rd or a 4th one, because as you become more comfortable being able to answer those questions, you will become more confident when you do an interview with a company and be able to handle those things. So you've done one. Mark didn't share it. He wouldn't allow anybody to see it, but come do another 1 or 2. I mean, here's the whole thing. Your resume is getting you phone calls. Phone calls are getting you interviews. The interviews are not getting you the job. So how can you perfect the interview situation? So yes, one was a internal candidate, one was a candidate, they didn't have one bonus thing, but maybe more practice interviews will teach you how to overcome those kind of objections and how you should answer those objections correctly.
Geneva, are you a member? Do you know what RENG is?
Yes.
Are you participating?
Yeah, I'm on their roster. I've been to one of their networking groups.
Okay, well, stay connected with them because they are in your wheelhouse. And most of the people in there have connections that are extremely valuable to you. As a matter of fact, I would suggest you connect with me because especially in the, I worked at Beal Bank. I've got connections in the REO side. So I think I might be able to point you to some people to talk to.
And go to that ring meeting every Friday morning. I mean, they're on Zoom. Go be part of them every Friday morning before this meeting.
So Geneva, let me reinforce what Jeff and Kevin said. I totally agree with Kevin. You need to reframe what happened, especially the one where they offered you, another opportunity. So that recruiter, and maybe the second one you talked to as well, is somebody you should be keeping in contact with regularly, like every couple of weeks, okay? Because now they have become your advocates.
Yes.
Now, so these recruiters are identifying jobs that they think you're a good match for, okay? And in that first case, you went very deep into the interview process before they selected an internal candidate, which, by the way, happens 30% of the time. Even though the job is posted, 30% of posted jobs go to internal candidates. So, but they think you're a great candidate, and as long as you keep reminding them that you're available, they will likely continue to look for spots for you inside their company. But ultimately, they're the recruiter, likely not the decision maker, but maybe involved. And so your interview skills need to carry the day. I think what happened on the one where you had the one requirement that was missing is they thought they could bridge that. They thought there was an abundance of other ways you could help them that would bridge that deficiency, because it was not unknown that was a shortcoming of yours. But ultimately they decided that wasn't the case. And so it's people who've done the best in the pit crew have an epiphany, and that epiphany is, I have been talking about what I do wrong. I need to talk about how I help. Okay. And so when they say, you don't have this experience, you don't say, well, I can learn that, or you disagree with them. You say, but I can help you in so many other ways. Remember this, remember that, remember this other thing.
Yes.
So it's, that's how you attack that problem. So.
Okay. This has been really, really good feedback. I appreciate it. Yeah, Mark. So get your glass of wine ready, because I'm going to set up another pit crew interview.
You're coming well. Hey, guess what? There's 4 slots available for next week. So you get
okay. Well, I'm going to be on one of them. So let everybody know. That sounds good.
Geneva, have you been through Walt's interview success workshop?
I actually, as Walt was talking, I have his information, and I was going to contact him to, yes.
I would do that as soon as possible. Walt's an amazing helper.
Okay. Well, the pit crew interview and Walt, those are 2 things that I'm booking for next week. So I think that'll help me a lot.
So to Geneva and everybody else on this call, you may already follow this individual, Lauren McDonald, on LinkedIn. She's a recruiter, and she does a LinkedIn Live Monday through Friday, either at 8 or 8:45 for 20 minutes. And she's just brutal about the recruiting process and about how recruiters work and how they work with each other and the candidate process. And she did a whole 20-minute segment one day earlier this week on ghosting. If you don't follow her, it's kind of a cold water splash to your face to wake up at 8 a.m. in the morning and listen to it. But I would highly recommend it, because it'll take the emotion out of it. And it'll give you a perspective that is maybe not always fair or kind, right? But honest. And it helps, like both Mark and Walt have said, it helps reframe what you're going through. And the last thing I'll say about this is the best piece of advice I got in this job search that made me the angriest and made me angry for long a long time was you need to let go of your need for an outcome. Once you can we all need a job, all the things that go with that, right? And that piece of information given to me by a international management consultant made me want to throw my phone. But when I can do that, I can move forward more faster each time. It takes me less time to get over it than it did the time before, if that makes sense.
Yes, that's pretty powerful, Deborah. I appreciate you sharing that little tidbit there about let go of need for an outcome, because when you said that, I was just like, that just summarizes everything I'm going through right now. I'm like, I want to see this outcome. I'm doing all this stuff. I want to see the outcome. And anyway, yes, all of this information has helped me so much. I mean, just to kind of reframe how I'm thinking about this, and the next steps and the next actions I need to take, and things I need to do differently too. This is really helpful.
Geneva, one thing that Michael had mentioned, and I think that's important for you, because if you're so concentrated on getting that job and you're getting so frustrated, you're unhappy, like you mentioned, and so forth, you're not enjoying life. And when they talk to people, they want to talk to people that are enjoying life, that are happy, that are fun. So, I would do some things during the week or every day that you enjoy doing for a couple of hours, just enjoy it. Put the job thing on the back shelf for a little while. Or like Michael said, if it's financial, you have to get a part-time job for a little while. Mm-hmm. You'll show some success in that. It'll be a reward in itself, emotionally and so forth. And it'll give you that time to be in the pursuit, for a little longer period. So I would think just don't dwell totally on this job thing. It's gonna get a job. Everyone's gonna get a job. I might even get a job, and we won't be happy then, right? Because I won't get these calls harassing anybody. Anyway.
So I've got two follow-ups to what Kevin just brought to light. One is I've been in an extended job search. I won't go into all the circumstances. I actually was hired for a contract that kept getting delayed. But I've been in a long-term job search. The fact of getting a bridge job isn't just about the money. Mentally, it has helped so much more. And I give this advice to people, especially if you're over 50 or 55. Mentally, you get recharged. It doesn't matter how menial the job is. It's about connection with people, doing something productive. Yes. I personally signed up, and I now do substitute teaching. Doesn't pay great, but I'll tell you what, the rewards coming back to me personally have been amazing. The other thing I'll say is, man, I forgot my train of thought. Oh, the other thing is, we talk about letting go of needing the final outcome. That's where my faith has really played a big role. I believe strongly enough that the things that happen in decisions are really not mine. They're being made by somebody above me. And that has been the biggest help for me. I don't agonize over the fact that it has to happen now, because I trust that the right outcome will happen. And those two things have been very valuable. I do a lot of not-for-profit stuff on the side too, almost to the point where that's a semi-full-time job. I don't get paid, but it gives me rewards me in other ways. So
I agree with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly, because I had a job transition and I've been going to school full time to further my education. And I was a vice president and a co-founder of a company, and I've been working retail. And I enjoyed it because I was with healthy women that said that were good to each other, and I made other women feel beautiful. I was paid horribly. It was, but my main focus wasn't the pay. It was like I'm around women that are positive and making other women feel good about themselves. And now I'm currently, while I'm actively finishing school, almost done, and job hunting very actively, I'm working in a flower shop. Still bad pay. I'm around pretty things all the time and making pretty things. And then you're around people that see how good you are. So I have people, other employees saying, you're a fast read. You did a great job, Angela, something I've never done before. You can always depend on Angela, you know? So when there's all these other things that are like seemingly sitting heavy on me of whether the rejection or I haven't found a job yet, there's all these other positive ideas and energy flowing at me. So it helps balance it out, the negative. And so I want to agree with, I can't see your name, Michael. There you are.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. One more to second that. During the recession, 2008 onwards, I taught a one-day class on databases to the staff at Tarrant County College, and then that was followed by teaching as an adjunct instructor for 3 semesters. Paid under $100 a week. But just thought, it would look better on my resume than a Walmart job. And it really was very rewarding, as Michael said, very rewarding. And it just happened to run into one of the people, one of the staff who was in my class when I was on another campus. I visited the campus and she recognized me and told me, by the way, I was in your class and I've actually built a database for my department. It's very rewarding.
So I will add to all this is a lot of times we put hurdles in our way about doing these kinds of things, these teaching and, jobs that aren't in our career field and so forth. You think it's going to take away from your job search, but as you've heard, it can be very rewarding, but don't wait. This last time I didn't follow my own advice. I waited, and just do it now. Go find something now. It's never a perfect time. If you have a connection to go work for $15 an hour somewhere, take it, go do it. They're screaming for substitute teachers in every school district in town. They're even screaming for bus drivers. I mean, that's, Plano's paying $22 an hour plus benefits. I mean, go do something. Several people who did the bus driver thing, who probably participated in this group at one time or another, they started bus driving and they realized it took all the stress out of their life. And so then they added some kind of side gig to the bus driving and they didn't go back to their corporate job.
It all turned out okay. Yeah.
Yep. So do something now to be productive in some way, either with a not-for-profit or a bridge job or something.
Okay. Everybody, thank you so much. I really did not, I was hesitant to share because I knew I'd start bawling today because of how I feel. But I'm so glad that I did, because everything everybody has contributed has really, really encouraged me today. I mean, I can't even put into words how much it's encouraged me, and maybe see things a little bit differently. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
I just put a link in the chat window, or I'm doing it right now. There's a link there, the one that says 10:55 a.m. for accountability group. So that's a presentation that was done back in October here at this group about how to start one, what you should talk about, who should be on it, and there's also a handout. If anybody wants the handout, I think I can get you the slide deck if you're interested. So you can reach out to me and I'll get that information to you.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome. So what else can we do for somebody? This is why we're here every Friday, because we're here to, support and help each other.
Hey, Jeff?
Well, Geneva asked the question and made the presentation, but You know, a lot of us don't step out there and throw this on the table. So, you know, don't think that only one person is going to benefit from the help that you're able to provide on this discussion. You know, we've all gone through, or, you know, we go through a lot of the same things together, and sometimes it's painful to put it out there for public view, but as you can see, you can get lots of input and help, because there's lots of people on here with their heart in the right place. And I'm going to throw out a kudos, you know, Mark, Jeff, Walt, there are others who are constantly helping other people. And, you know, that's the other thing, suggestion I would make. Find, you know, we use the help one person every day. I like to think of it as help other people every day, more than one person. So put yourself in a frame of mind of look for ways to help others. You know, my favorite quote is Zig Ziglar. If you help enough other people find what they want or need in life, you'll get everything that you want or need. And that, you know, I have found that to be very true as I go through this journey.
Yeah. Gemma, you have a question?
I do. And Geneva, I sent you a link to connect because ditto to everything that's said, you're probably expressing what many of us have gone through or are going through this process. So you're not alone. I have a few LinkedIn questions. I've attended a couple of workshops. So from the group, thumbs up, thumbs down. Premium, yes, no. Sign up, yes, no. Thumbs down.
I mean, I
Yes.
think the only thing LinkedIn Premium gets you is additional searches.
Okay.
I think that's the big one. It depends on which package, because there's LinkedIn Premium, and then there's a package that's like $30 a month, and then there's like a $60 a month package. And, you know,
I found it beneficial for the additional searches. I ran out of searches the first day.
Okay.
You know, the first hour, I think. So I pay for it for that because I search a lot of different ways.
Okay.
So for sure, do the free 30-day trial.
Yep, that's what I'm doing.
But before you do the 30-day trial, do a lot of research work and get a lot of your targeting and stuff like that pulled together. So during that 30 days, you can get through a lot of that. And maybe after the 30 days, you won't need to continue paying.
Okay, great. Thanks, Michael. The other question I had was, I had an interesting call yesterday to join a startup. I have never, you know, if you looked at my LinkedIn profile, you know, I've worked for a long time with a lot of people, and the money sounds really lucrative. Definitely a startup, read the website. What are the things I should be looking for to see if this is legit? I mean, the guy who called me is a friend I've known for 30 years. He's only been with this company for 6 months, very enthusiastic, but I don't know. I'm feeling really risk averse. Any tips, advice?
How much funding do they have?
Supposedly millions of dollars.
Well, that's not good enough. Millions of dollars could be 3 million or it could be 150 million.
yeah, is it Class A funding? Have they gone to round B yet? I mean, that
Okay,
would be
good.
a
Well,
question.
Class
Yeah.
A, Class A funding?
They usually, I think they call it Class A or round A, round B. I think there's usually like 3 rounds. Most startup companies maybe go through 3 rounds of funding. You know,
Okay,
that initial round is just to sort of get up and going. And then the second round is, all right, we've got something here. Let's perfect what we're doing. Let's invest in
okay,
a new process or whatever.
Mhm.
And then the Class C, I think usually is when they're off and running.
Yeah.
But just to sort of find out where they are in their funding.
okay.
Great. Yeah, I was at a startup. We raised $85 million and failed. Okay.
Okay,
And we had to return money back.
Okay.
And it was largely because of the economy and 9/11. But you have to understand the product. Do you believe in the product? Do you believe in the management? You have to know, you have to meet people on the team.
okay,
Because it's so, especially the startup, you wear many hats and you have to really like the people there, and probably more than most companies, you're going to put in a bunch of hours.
Okay.
And but I think you want to be secure that they have funding for at least a year.
Okay.
You know, because you hate to fold up after 6 months. And I think there's going to be a lot more turmoil in the startup market in this year, towards the middle and end of the year, with the financial arrangements and funding, the cost of funding and everything. So I think it's going to be difficult. I mean, it could be a greatest opportunity to go to a startup.
Okay, so funding seems like a key question I need to ask, and then meeting the team and the people. Okay.
So Gemma, are you doing anything right now?
No, I'm
Okay.
doing a lot of volunteer work. I'm deeply
Well,
involved in the
You're not working anywhere. Would
No.
it be a plus to your resume, even if they failed after 6 months or a year? I mean, if you're not doing anything else and it would add to your resume, you can keep a job search going while you're there. I mean,
okay.
The biggest
I think we used to be pushed to look for the perfect fit job. Things
Right.
don't work. Things don't work that way anymore.
Right.
You know, I only care if the company's going to give me an opportunity for, you know, I'd like it to be a long term, but I'm not, you don't, who has a more than 5 or 10 year stint at any company anymore?
Yeah, but Michael, you have to look at the day-to-day commitment you're going to be making to that company. It could be a place you absolutely, after a couple of weeks, you just hate it. I mean, just like the people, you don't like what they're asking you to do, you don't like the hours. It's more than just taking a job.
Okay.
Well, I'm not saying just take a job. You still need to do your due diligence and make sure it's somewhere where you want to be. I've worked multiple startup companies, so I know, you know, what you're talking about, Kevin. I know about, the crazy time demands and the fact you have to be flexible and be willing to do things you probably wouldn't like to do. I mean, those are all things that go with working in a startup. But if it's not going to be bad on your resume and you're not doing anything else right now, I mean, that's really the way I look at going to any job these days. I don't wait for the perfect fit to appear. I'll take something that's kind of reasonable. And if because you're both test driving. I mean, everybody's on probation. You know, you used to have a 90-day probation period. Now probation is all the time because companies are so fluid and they make changes and decisions so frequently. So, you know, you're both test driving.
Okay.
Don't wait for what you think is the perfect job, I guess is the way I look at it.
Okay. Deborah, you were going to say something.
I would say two things. The biggest mistake I've made in my job search is I was risk averse, and I've been at this for a long time, and I'm starting to take more risks. And my comment about recruiters, you know, that's me taking more risks, which is a very small thing. The other thing, the last thing I would say is, the biggest mistake I've made in my career, the biggest mistake I made in my last position was I was too loyal and I stayed too long. I mean, you know, it's you, Inc. It's your bottom line.
Okay. Hey, Deborah, can you post that link to that recruiter? I think we're all trying to get, is it McDonald, Laura O'Donnell, or is it Laura?
Yeah, I'll look it up and do that.
Okay, great. And then lastly, Jeff, I'm gonna ping you separately because I was trying to update my LinkedIn profile and how to put my contact at the top. But where do you put hashtag ONO? Where are you supposed to put that on your LinkedIn profile?
I would put it in your summary statement.
Summary, okay.
You could list it, you know, since you don't have a current job. I mean, the question is, what are you showing as a current job on your profile? If you don't have a current job, you need to, because that moves you up in the rankings. So what you do for a current job is you list a job title or 2 or 3 that you would want to have.
Okay.
For the name of the company, you put your phone number and email address, and then you list 2 or 3 bullet points explaining successes and what it is you know, what you've done, how you can help a company, and you list on there, you know, looking to help another company succeed in whatever. And then you could list a hashtag O&O in that job description
Okay.
as a current job. And then when you get hired, you just eliminate that off your LinkedIn
Just
profile.
take that whole thing. Okay.
But that gets
You
you
can
a current job.
put it in your headline too.
Yeah, you can.
Okay. Got it.
Because you
Okay,
now
and-
have 220 characters in a headline, and most people only use about 100 or 120.
Okay.
So you could add it in your headline, and be sure you have the open the reef, the reef about open to work on your profile. Turn that on. People say, oh, it makes me look desperate. No, it doesn't. Half the recruiters out there don't pay for the recruiting package. So if you're only letting recruiters know that you're looking for a job, there is whole groups of people who don't even know that.
Okay.
And maybe one of your contacts will go, oh, I didn't realize you were looking for a job.
Okay. Got it. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Jamie, I want to add something to your startup.
Yep.
My personal opinion is that I am and culture outweighs I do and I help. If you don't like working there, you don't love working there, it doesn't energize you to work there, etc., that's not going to be a good place for you. Some people just say, they ask the question, what's the culture like? I suggest that you research their mission, their vision, their values. What are the working environments like? How do they communicate? What's going on in the leadership style? What's the history so far of that company? Prioritize the culture that you thrive in. What is it that you like, where you can go to work and say, I love working here.
Okay.
Check out with them as you talk to everyone, ask them those kind of questions. And so you ask mission questions, you ask vision questions, you ask value questions. A lot of companies have these values, but the question is, how are they practiced? What kind of questions can you ask that demonstrate those kinds of things? And so, how do you get a person on board here? What's the communication protocol? How do you communicate with each other? What's it like for you to work here? All those kind of things, so you can determine if this is really the place that you would put in the hours and enjoy doing that. It'd be a great place to go to.
Those are great questions.
As
Sorry,
Elizabeth Line said last week, is you've got to come up with the top 3 things that you're looking for in a new job.
Okay.
And once you have those top 3 issues or those top 3 things, then every job you get, every job that you're looking for, how does it meet my top 3 requirements? And once you've decided on that, then you know if you're going to proceed or not.
Okay. Great advice. I literally had not figured out what those top 3. I'm kind of in that exploratory stage right now. So to get this call and the timing, I was like, a little bit of panic set in. My being too risk averse, but culture is a big deal to me. Well, because that's one of the reasons why I left the last job. And, I'm almost 60 years old. I don't really want to work that many more years. Really don't want to work that many years. So my time is really valuable, right? And how I want to do that. So thanks for the great reminder, Walt. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, what else can we answer for somebody?
Hi, Jeff. This is Rosina Gallman.
Hey there.
I just wanted to mention to you guys, I dropped in the chat, Patricia Romboletti. She has this Thursday night motivational call for job seekers. But basically, I just dropped in the link from this week because the link does change every week, but at least people could see the information that would be coming out. If anyone's interested, you can do, and I put in there Zoom at bulletproofyourcareer.com. That's where they could give you next week's link. But if you can't get it, then someone can just email me and I'll just forward it to you. And my email address is rgallman9@yahoo.com. But last night, the topic was take control of your career search. Because a lot of people kind of look at it as, you know what, the recruiters say, or the hiring managers may say, this is what we need. And unfortunately, this isn't the right opportunity for you. And they dictate how you feel about your success or behavior within an interview situation. You take care and take control over it. It's like, look, this wasn't the right opportunity for me. Fantastic. Check. I'm moving on to the next opportunity, or I'm moving on to the next item that I need to do to get myself prepared for the next opportunity. But it's a continual cycle of improvement and not worrying about the negatives that just happened. That was just a step in the process to the success. So I don't know what next week's topic's going to be, but she is very motivational and she's very straightforward with how to approach the job search situation. And she was a former recruiter as well. So if you guys Google her, you'll see more information about her. You'll see her book, things of that nature. She has TED Talks out there. She does not record her sessions. So when you are on it, she is like if y'all have seen Terry Sullivan, she is like a female Terry Sullivan. She talks really fast, gets a lot of information out there, but you have to take notes, or if you're recording it somehow, then that's on you. But I'm just saying, she's a female Terry Sullivan. She talks really fast, but her information, she's a straight shooter. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, it's every Thursday night.
Correct. From 6:45 to about 8:30.
Right.
I have a question, I guess that came up from Jema. Is that how I say your name?
Jema.
Jema, yeah, from possibly your last comment when you said, I'm not looking to work for too long because I'm nearly 60 years old. So my problem or question is, how do I dispel that assumption on the part of recruiters or hiring managers? I mean, of course, they say no ageism by law, but it's quite rampant. So they may assume, because see, my mother's older brother came here on a scholarship to Harvard Law School in the 50s. And so he worked for the government for 56 years, retired at age 86, and he turned 90 last December. So, I mean, that's the mentality. I mean, as long as I'm able to, I have something to offer, I will work. Maybe later on volunteer or something, but I don't think of, I guess because I wasn't born here, didn't grow up here. So there's no American dream of kick back and relax at 65. Nothing wrong with that. But how do I, but at the same time, I don't want to red flag them, say, yeah, by the way, yeah, I am older than you might think I am or want me to be.
Well, I'm sure Jema would never go and say that in an interview, that, only want to work a couple more years, whatever. I mean, any job you're going to go after, you've got to show that enthusiasm. You have to be, I wouldn't take this job on if I'm looking to stay here and do this job and help the company out. So,
Absolutely.
I guess we're sharing here because this is a safe space, but
Right.
we're going to make sure that, she's not going to say that out in public.
That being
Right.
said, I think people make a mistake. Ageism is out there, and I think people make a mistake in the interview. I've heard people come back from interviews and say, thank God they didn't ask me any questions that would, identify my age or place in my career. I think you have to do like Jeff said, you have to, well, you should do this in any interview, but you have to show enthusiasm. You have to make statements that would address questions of age if they ask them, like that you work out regularly, that you do, because back in the back room, they saw your gray hair. They look deeper and can kind of guess how old you are. If, a lot of the applications now make you put a year of graduation in, or you can't fill out the application. So they're going to know you're not going to fool them. So you better find out, there's resources out there to find out the kind of questions that get asked that, have a reference to age, find out what they are and find ways to address them positively in your interview some way, because even if they don't ask the questions, it's a topic of discussion in the back room, and you want them to have a positive answer in their mind that you provided. Don't ignore it.
Yeah, I mean, actually, do I want to work at a place where they have such a huge age bias? So with that in view, as you can see, letting that gray hair alone. So I'll
No, I think you
still
have a
get a
great-
job in spite of that, but I'm not advertising, you know what I mean? But how to, for example, at my, at a previous job, my manager said, oh, this guy, he's well suited. But when I interviewed him, he told me that he just retired from his previous job. So I think he may not last too long here. And so that's what he said. And I was appalled because that was a municipal, you know, a job at the municipality. That's a strategy. That someone who worked from corporate America and retired, that's a good place. And then you work another 10 years and get a little pension from there. That may be a strategy. I mean, that kind of assumption, that's so wrong.
You know, I think you have a great story. You said it was your brother or your cousin who worked.
My mother's older brother, he turned 90 in December.
So
he lives in
in
New
other words,
York.
your uncle. So your uncle worked.
Yeah.
You know, so I think
there's
you have a great story that if somebody were ever to bring up age, I mean, you could go and say, well, my uncle worked till he was 86 and I'm looking to beat him out.
Good point. Yeah. But only thing is, they may never ask the question, but behind the scenes, they'll draw conclusions, you know, but at the same time, I won't want to work for people who.
You can make comments in your interview like, I love what I do. I plan on doing it as long as I possibly can. You know, retirement isn't in my vocabulary. You know, make positive statements. We had a guy go through the pit crew, and in his interview, he made references to finding his last job to ride off into the sunset. Well, guess what? You know, he had been through several interviews that went well, but he had made a similar comment in those interviews. We told him to take it out of there. Don't even go there. Great. He got the next job interview he went on. So don't approach it negatively. Don't talk about age specifically, but make comments that are positive, that will alleviate their concerns about you retiring in 2 years and all that stuff.
I can tell you this. Number one is I often preach conciseness in responses, and it's my hardest task to do myself. I have a difficulty with that. So I want to work on being concise with this answer. Number one, we have to stop thinking about age discrimination. Just clear it from your mind.
Yeah.
You can't walk into an interview concerned about age discrimination. Number two, you can't hide your age. You can't do it. There's no way you can do it. It's going to show up in your photograph. It's going to show up on your resume. It's going to show up. All right. It's going to be there. So we don't even attempt to hide it. Number three, what do you do? If you truly love this company, if you truly love the job, you will be energetic and enthusiastic in your interview. All you have to do is convince me you want to work here, and why do you want this job, and why do you want to work here? And if those are real positive, we had an interview, was it Wednesday, where a person gave 5 reasons why they liked that company. Just aced it. I mean, just went through it and it just rolled off her tongue. And she was excited and energetic about those things. And it came across so positively. So that's what we do. I'm just going to show you what I can do for you. I'm going to show you who I am. I'm going to show you what I can do for you. And I'm going to combine those things to help you do these things. And if you want that, then that's great. Because there's a lot of other reasons, you know, that fits into the overqualified thing. Because if you've done a lot of experience in age and that, so that goes right in there. So our focus is on them, how we can just help them and do it. Just worry about doing that. You don't even need to worry about it. Practice it so you're confident about it and get in there and just show that.
Actually, the company's core values would be a great place to draw on that. In fact, my last job, I think one of the reasons I got it was 3 of my Strengths Finder top 5 were perfectly aligned to 3 of their core values. So I brought that out, and a couple other things that they'd said.
All right, we're going to wrap up here. Deborah, you've got your hand up. You have one more. We'll let you have the last word here.
One quick question. I am going after content management positions. In a recent interview, they said, if you want to send us a content example, that would be great. It's a different industry than the industry where I was in. The feedback I was given was take the name off of your content example. Well, everybody's going to know the name. I mean, that's where I've been for 10 years. I think I leave in all the graphics and that's what I'm talking about. Graphics like on social media and stuff will have the name. I think I should just black out all the financial pieces so they get the idea of the type of project management plan I put together with the deliverables, but not give them any data. Which way do you go? If I black out the name and the data, then I just have a whole bunch of black.
CIA
If you were
report.
if you were the interviewer, what would you think of a candidate who did either one of those two options?
I don't have a problem providing. I would black out the financial data and give the graphic data. I don't particularly have a problem because it's not the same industry. This is an example from senior living into luxury home builders. So it's not a competitor of any way. It's just an example of how I project manage the thought process and the content deliverables.
Is the financial data public?
The results would be public. These are just like the benchmarks. We raised 250,000 by the third quarter to get to a goal of 650,000. That's what I mean by financial data. I don't mean the organizational foundation data. I mean the event specific. I use that data in an interview. I say I delivered the second highest grossing, lowest revenue event in the 10-year history. We brought in 650,000. I'm not going to give you, and this isn't a fundraising position. It's not a fundraising institution. It's not a competitor. So I don't know.
I think Walt's question, why black out anything?
Okay, I want to be fair to my former employer. They didn't say that I couldn't use it.
I think you need to be concerned about confidentiality. And even though in their different industry, you're handing out a document or a piece of paper that could be shared. So I would go, if you can't black out the name, then, you need to black out the financial data. But that doesn't mean you can't tell them, and you probably should tell them, that the order of magnitude of this effort was, hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? Because there's a difference between doing a project for 10K versus doing a project for $1 million. And so you can fill that information in, but the document needs to protect.
Yeah, that's
in the biggest sense, the source, right?
Thank you. I appreciate that feedback.
Hey, Mark, could she show up but not give it to him?
That's a possibility. Yeah, I think that's
if you have this, you could give the example if it's a face-to-face interview saying, here's the example, but it's my content, I can't share it, especially if you have an NDA or some type of an agreement with your former employer.
Well, what I thought I would do was just do an outline of the project management process and provide that to them. And then if they want to see the examples, I could show them in my next Zoom interview, providing that I get them. Is that an alternative?
Yeah, if it protects their confidentiality, yeah, those are alternatives.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that.
You could have an option of getting written permission from your previous company to share that data.
Never going to happen.
All right. If that's not going to happen, then you don't want to share that data. The risk with sharing the numbers also is that if you share the numbers from somebody else, then you'll share our numbers with somebody
Right.
else.
That's why I don't want
You don't want to do that.
want them to see the thought process of the project management plan.
I like Mark's suggestion. You can just give generalities of numbers without giving specific numbers.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Well, I think this has been a great discussion today. I always love because we never know which way it's going to head and what we're going to talk about. And I think we've had some outstanding topics today. So I just want to let people know next week Our speaker is Mike Coffey. He's going to talk all about background checks. So join us. Mike's the president of Imperative Information Group. So and he has also a Good Morning HR podcast that he puts out with some really, really great information. If you have not put your 30-second reductions into the Zoom chat window, please do so. So number one, we know who you are. We can get you on the roster. You'll get the email that goes out this afternoon with all the details of everybody who was on the call. And then we'll have you counted if you're using this for a workforce event. Career DFW and Career USA, we're putting on training 4 days a week. Next Tuesday, Ruth Lipsky will be with us to talk about LinkedIn search engine optimization. Ruth does an outstanding production or outstanding presentation on how to really use LinkedIn. And she's very informed. She teaches this at Lehigh Harrison. So she is up on all the latest things that are going on. Next Wednesday, you can watch a real practice interview. Who knows? It could be Geneva. We'll see who the lucky candidate is next Wednesday at 1 o'clock. But we invite you to come watch this. This is an anticipation of going back live, meeting in person. So we want you to be able to see, you know, back when we were meeting in person, everybody was watching everybody else be interviewed. So, you know, this is just a great way to get started to do this again this Wednesday at 1 o'clock. And then next Thursday, our networking session, John Ernett will be with us to share what he does in networking. John's worked at several different jobs over the past many years, and what's his process to network and how does he go out and do that? So John's on the call with us today. He'll be with us next Thursday to share his thoughts. This session has been recorded. It will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel. On the Career USA YouTube channel, click on playlist and then go find North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group speakers. And you can go back and find any of the topics that we've talked about. We talked about accountability groups, information interviewing, all that kind of information. You can go back and find any one of these lists and find the videos. There's over 290 videos up on different subjects that you can go find out about. And here you can see part of the list where you can go through. The newest one will be on top, and you can go back down and you can find whichever video it is you'd like to watch. So thank you very much for joining us today. Stay warm, drink lots of hot cocoa, and hopefully by Saturday we can all get out and about when the temperature's up into the 40s. So have a great weekend. Thanks, everybody.